on now. There we go. Here we are. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Red Pill Roundup with Gary DeForve. And we are here with the next progressive. This is like the first, like live thing I've done in a long time. I wanted to do a lot more of these, but a lot of people are too, whatever, they're too chicken to just go live and talk with people. And maybe I am
I
a basic.
was. I
I
have
am a
social
basic because
anxiety.
obviously I have
Hmm.
social anxiety too, absolutely. And so, and obviously I'm abrasive, but I think I made an impression at least where you at least got like, you respond to me, and that's obviously that's the point. In the in the marketplace of ideas, current what is that? Attention is currency. In the marketplace of ideas.
Oh yeah, I really, really try really hard to respond to everybody because I think it is important to communicate even with people you disagree with.
I appreciate that attitude because I'm not like trying to like hide any of my. I'm just honest about like what I put a lot of work into what I'm trying to figure out, like what the hell's going on? What's that guy's game? What's all these people's games?
Yeah, yeah. I think we're all that way. We're all trying to figure it out.
It
And
really
I
is
don't,
complicated. It's been going on a long time.
you got to know I don't pretend to know everything. I'm not
Right.
saying that everything I say is gospel. It's not
No, no, no.
all 100% correct. It's just how my mind
Yeah.
processes what's
I
going
was think
on.
I was thinking it's
Yeah.
like a cloud. Like we both see the same cloud, but somebody see a fluffy dog, other person see it look like cotton to me. I think it looked like a
Hmm.
cloud. So it's just
Yeah.
looking, and it's sometimes you look at the cloud, sometimes it look like a cloud, sometimes it look different to you. So it's just a
Hmm.
matter of where you're standing and like what you're putting into your understanding. And we're not all at the same place, and we don't all have the same way of expressing things.
And we have different experiences that we're drawing from as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been so immersed in this whole, progressive YouTube thing ever since, basically the Bernie campaign started. I got
Hmm.
just more and more deeper into it.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I think Bernie did that for a lot of people, drew a lot of people in, and then after the
absolutely,
primary, that's when everybody split, and
yeah,
you had uh, different factions come off of that. The people that were going to support Hillary, and then the people that there was actually three. There was the right in Bernie, there was the Jill Stein, and then there was the Hillary.
right.
And I happened to go to the Jill Stein because her platform matched Bernie's, and I kind of thought that's kind of where Bernie's supporters would go. And after knowing how corrupt the Hillary campaign was, and especially after learning how they cheated Bernie, I wasn't going to vote for a cheater. That's for sure. Where I come from. So now let me hear where you came from, how you got to your position. That's what I'd really like to know.
Yeah, I actually voted for in California, Jill Stein.
You did?
Absolutely.
Yay!
I mean, just because there's no reason to like give Hillary an extra vote, just a
Mm,
protest vote. But and then had I been, I didn't have to make the the decision. So I didn't really come to a firm decision like, oh, I have to like say that you shouldn't in Michigan or whatever, because nobody knew. Everybody still thought it was going to win. Right,
mm.
Hillary was going to win, and nobody
Yeah,
knows.
everyone did.
Everyone
Yeah.
did. So there was really no reason to be like, it's fine to vote for Jill Stein, basically, if you think Hillary's going to win in a way. It doesn't really,
Yeah, well,
obviously,
actually,
wouldn't
it
matter.
builds up a third party if they got a certain percentage of the vote, and I'm not convinced that they didn't get that percentage
Right.
enough to get them in the debate. I think that there was some shenanigans there as well. Like, I mean, we can't certainly can't trust our election system.
Well, the thing is, there's going to be, it's at least, obviously pretty tightly controlled by, both parties are pretty tightly controlled by, you know, the elites. That's the
Hmm.
conspiracy. There's no
Yeah, the
conspiracy.
elites, the
It's just the people with the
establishment.
money. It's
Hmm.
not complicated.
Yeah,
The people
yeah.
with the money
Okay,
control the
so
system.
far we are in 100% agreement. So I'm
I don't
trying to
have any
figure out.
weird. I don't have any weird ideas like at all that like anybody would disagree with because you just can't. I mean, you'll find maybe you will find something, but really, you can't find something for me to disagree with. Now, the disagreement is when I like go back to the agreement with the talk we had. was when you say that Dore, or you said Benji D and Sam Cedar and Jank and the whole TYT are sellouts because they say that
I
it's
didn't call
better.
them
No, okay,
sellouts.
you didn't call them sellouts.
That
Okay,
wasn't
yeah,
my exact
right,
words.
right.
I mean, I probably have called
Just the fact that you can't trust them at all because, or like maybe that was the thing you were responding to in the last comment I talked to you about. But yeah,
okay. I'm not sure because I've had a lot of comments to read and everything, so I'm not entirely sure the specifics of our particular conversation.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but my problem with Sam Cedar and Ben Dixon, Pac-Man, Progressive Boys, is they voter shame people who voted for Jill Stein, and they pushed Hillary so hard after the primary, I couldn't listen to him anymore. And where Kyle Klinsky, Mike Figueredo,
Okay.
Jimmy Dore, and all that were more reasonable to me because they were saying, yeah, if you're in a solid area, go ahead and vote for Jill Stein. Let's try to get her numbers up so we can get another party
And that's fine.
viable. And that's what I wanted was and I think if Sam Cedar, Ben Dixon, I don't think Progressive Voice was anywhere in it at that point. I don't recall him during that period of time, but definitely Ben Dixon, Pac-Man, and Cedar I used to listen to on a regular basis.
Sure.
But but when they started pushing Hillary Clinton on me, I could not go there. And then they started saying horrible things about Jill Stein, and I'm okay with criticism if it's due, but they were towing the Russia line, and
Um, well, I don't fully. I think that you got to look deeply at the whole Jill Stein phenomenon. It's not as like just like Tulsi Gabbard. There's a thing where she's like people love Tulsi Gabbard, but like she literally is taking uh like a lot of money from very wealthy American Hindu far right donors. So there's a different there's like really, and I would say and that's straight out of the from the Intercept. I would say that's why I wanted to say is there's like it's not uh like Jank and all these people and Sam like this they decide like what they're gonna say and what they talk about. It's like they're related to like a much larger like web of like checking, like it's like sort of academic review or journalistic review where you have your fellow professionals, everybody's looking at what you're doing. So like the minute you step out of line and you really try to like you evade these certain principles, that's why when Jimmy goes and he starts to get in the set rich, well, we know exactly where this conspiracy comes from because there's a conspiracy mill on the right.
well, I don't think Seth Rich is a right-wing conspiracy,
Well,
honestly.
it was pushed by them. That's why we say
It
it
was
went to
pushed
that
by
many.
them. Yes,
We
it
You
was
could
pushed
say
by them.
whatever you think might be happening with it. There could be legitimacy to some of these things. There could be whatever level of plausibility that you think there is. Okay, but the people, I think you could watch that the people who are talking about it, and that's the thing is we know that this conspiracy mill exists. Let's use. Are you familiar with the same progressive?
Mhm. Oh, well, yeah, she went off the deep end a little bit, in
Okay,
my opinion.
this is
So,
very illustrative of what my whole point was. You have like a movement, people like and who was saying like, oh, we can't like do no. I mean, basically, there was this like an indictment about maybe 6 or 8 months ago. This was handed down by the FBI as part of maybe it was part of the Mueller investigations, and it had I think David Souter was talking about Cambridge Analytica, and basically
mhm.
like there was that it was kind of like there was a dude with like gay like blonde hair and kind of like a very effeminate accent, you know what I'm talking about, and he came out and said like, yeah, I felt bad about it, and he was funded by Mercer,
Uh-huh.
Robert Mercer, you know who that is,
I've
like one of
heard.
the crazy right-wing billionaires behind Breitbart.
Oh, okay.
And that's
Familiar
my
with
point about
Breitbart.
the Russia thing is like there
Yeah,
is collusion between our American right wing and
it's
Russia because
it's
they're
more
both like
collusion with anti-establishment and not necessarily Russia, but like the right wing and um oh my gosh, I don't know how to explain it. The right wing more uses anything that's the and I think both sides do it too. Anything that's critical of the left wing, they're going to use to their advantage. But I don't think that's necessarily a reason not to ask questions or bring up issues. You know what I mean?
Well,
And there is issues with that with Seth Rich, and there's a lot of unanswered questions, and it's not conspiratorial to say, we just want to get to the bottom of it because it is super coincidental that he worked for the DNC. He had access to the emails that WikiLeaks had a hold of, and we know for sure that it wasn't a hack. It was it was a leak instead.
my point,
So.
if I could address this though, my
Mhm.
point is about like take just this particular story. It's about journalistic review.
Mhm.
Journalists are not trying to people like Glenn Greenwald, the Intercept or whatnot, and there's a whole range of other very solid journalists, and
Mhm.
some of them who work for some of the best guys, Ryan Grimm, and
Mhm.
these
Familiar. Yeah.
guys who work for TYT Investigates are really a fantastic bunch of, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's the same
And I
people.
still watch them.
I really recommend A Current Affair with Nathan Robinson. You know that show?
No, but I'm
I
gonna
mean,
write it down.
it's actually, yeah, it's a podcast and it's a great magazine.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah,
I
you
really
just
don't
do
know
like
how to use
anything.
podcasts.
Well, yeah, you just go to you just type in. Well, you could get the podcast on YouTube.
Okay, that's all I care about because I'm not technologically advanced. I'm old. Okay,
I
probably like
understand. I'm old and white too.
I'm probably like 20 years older than you. So
You probably just look super young because I never work or anything. I just sleep all the time. So
ah, you're
um,
lucky.
we're exactly the same age. I can tell. But um, okay, what was I going to say? I was going to talk about uh, the Seth Rich conspiracy.
Mhm.
Okay, one of my point is that there are all these journalists. They're not ultimately the people who tell you that yes, they keep pushing this uh, are of a certain ilk. You'll see, obviously the Alex Jones, and really you saw how at the end
Well, yeah, there's
the same
the right wing
progressive would take
crazy
like
people.
right at the end, same progressive, and now she's like deleted all her social platforms. She's totally out of the game,
Mhm.
right? Did you know that?
Well, yeah, she got chased out.
Or
And
chased out, but we say
she
like,
went too far. She went way too far. I don't think, I mean, yeah, I think that she was a little conspiratorial, but I think she was
hmm.
onto something. Um, there was a lot of fact
Well, do you think
that
like
she was.
all when she would come out the day of every single shooting and say this is a false flag? That's
Yeah,
straight.
that's when red flags were coming up for me.
Well, that should
And
be.
I think at that point I stopped watching her. So I do have my boundaries. It needs to make sense to me in my
And this
brain.
is my point: is that these journalists, it's just like, oh, I can't. Yes, you have to rely on them. You aren't there. You don't have. There's this thing, journalistic reviews. So all these people, you could think of the other Taibbi people,
Mhm,
all the great journalists, and all the great public intellectuals like Noam Chomsky or
mhm.
Chris
I
Hedges, or
love
used
Noam
to think, I
Chomsky.
mean, but all these people who are, you think you just trust them, you believe they're very reliable. That's why we could do a whole another hour on like what's up with Chris
But
Hedges because
but the establishment won't talk to people like Noam Chomsky anymore.
it won't.
They're
It won't.
they're keeping them out, and that's why we have all this unknown factor of who's telling the truth and who is not.
Well, that's why we now
So
have YouTube, where there's plenty of people talking about Noam Chomsky.
yeah, so well, and that's why we need to still question things that the establishment is saying. Um,
Absolutely.
Almost in every circumstance, we need to question the details at least. Um, with the local reporting I do on Uphill Media, I do a lot of the climate stuff,
Uh-huh.
and and when you go by just what the news media that you see on TV says, and then you go and look up several other stories from different sources. For one thing, they're just telling half truths. They're only highlighting what they want you to know,
Right.
and they're missing a whole bunch of other information. So I don't trust the establishment corporate media at all. So I just have questions. When I have questions,
That's
I'll ask them. But
valid.
there's no way for me to find out if the Seth Rich murder was associated with the DNC or anything. There's no way for me to actually find that out. But maybe I could push someone who could find that out.
But there are
Mhm.
people who are called investigative reporters. And
Yes,
if
there are.
evidence, another one would find that evidence, they would publish an article, and then other people would say, like, oh yeah, uh that article's chill. We can see. So I'm saying Sam Seder and Jank are both part of like this web of journalistic
Yeah, but they
academic
just
review.
dismissed it, and they dismissed
Yes,
the
but
DNC
well,
lawsuit as well.
that's because that lawsuit, you know, once again, who was really pushing that lawsuit? And I did see that same lady, the one of the lawyers, the
Mhm.
uh,
I know who you're talking about. I can't think
yeah,
of her
she
name right
was
now.
on Stephen Molyneux. She was on Alex Jones.
Mm.
You know, so I just
Well, she went anywhere to get her message out, but doesn't say that
makes
it's not a credible charge, because I totally agree with what they're, and it's
it
still
may make
open. It's
sense, but it doesn't mean that like legally. Because think about this: like you're going to make it so every election set the precedent. So every election in history, if they didn't spend the money in the way the people, it's just like it's just that's not part of the understood. I mean, I don't know why exactly they did it, why
it's
what the
because
legal reasons are, but if you look at like a class action lawsuit, it's just like very difficult to prove. That's like the kind of a funky type
yeah.
of a lawsuit,
Okay, I've
right?
been through a huge lawsuit with the number one privately owned company in the world. I battled them by myself for 3 years before I had an attorney that accepted my case pro bono. And I understand how long it takes to even get to the point that DNC lawsuit has got to, and how much evidence it takes to get to the point they're at right now.
Sure.
So there is a lot of credibility to that lawsuit. And there was a lot of people hurt by what the DNC did and misrepresenting their stance as being neutral and not pushing one candidate over the other. And there's a ton of proof showing that they did that. And not only that, they funneled all the money that was supposed to go to state elections back up to the Hillary campaign. And
My
that was
point
a
is,
huge failure.
my point is that Sater and Jank and Ben Dixon were not silent on it, but I actually looked this. I just typed DNC lawsuit into YouTube, and what do I see? I see Tim Black, AJ Goodman, Nico House, over and over. These same
Yeah,
people who were very associated with who? Staying
Bernie
progressive.
Sanders.
Staying
Oh,
progress. That's what I'm
I
saying.
didn't really associate. I mean, yeah, they
Well,
did
there was like,
interview her. They did, but they
well,
split off once she
are
went
you
off the
familiar?
deep end.
Did you hear the story about the right wing heat map?
I don't know what you're referring to. I'm sorry.
Okay. I should have like have a link for that. But basically it describes like, and actually one guy who just is always like debating them also got like high on the heat map. But it shows basically how like people like Dave Rubin, and it's like a web that sort of draws people to the far right. Just Dave Rubin and Shapiro, how it's like how the YouTubers a bit hard to describe.
So you're trying to say that Jimmy Dore, Kyle Klinsky, all those people are drawing people further to the right? Because
I'm just saying,
I don't see that. I
well,
think if anything, they're drawing right wing people to the left
I'm
because
just
they
saying,
have some right wing people who follow them, and they're getting a real more clear
yeah,
picture
yeah.
of what's
No,
going on.
there is like, there absolutely is possible, positive aspects of Jimmy Dore's approach, even being like really just crazy. I mean, that's like sort of the right wing. where he's just like really angry, you know.
I love
That's
that though.
that's
You
kind
know,
of
the passion.
the right
I
wing
feel it.
aggrieved all the time. But ultimately, I'm sorry.
I think a lot of people feel it. Like he reflects what we're feeling inside. The anger, the
Yeah,
the frustration with the
right.
system, and we need to hear that. We need to know that we're not freaking crazy. I don't need
It's fine to say.
somebody.
I think it's what he's saying is fine to say that the party sucks, the system
Mhm.
sucks, it's all not working. But then he's when he gets to the third party stuff, he's like, "Why are we in this party?" No, well, people are going to try and take over the progressive. That's what's happening. That's actually like Bernie's, like stands a very good chance. He's like insistent that Bernie like leave the party, and like
Yeah, but
Bernie's
he
trying
knows
to
that's
slow
not
down.
going to happen.
The point is like Bernie's like he has his strategy. Like Dore thinks like this strategy, but really, there's very few people like who are very in the know and really understand what's going on. That's why I would just say, just broaden your scope and like listen to Dore or listen to Seder like every day of
I
the
can't
week.
listen to him. I can't
Or
listen
listen
to
to
him
the interviews
insult
of
me. It's like every time you listen to him, he's insulting to people like me, and I can't listen to that. I'm sorry.
ladies
You
who like
can't
that.
you can't prop up Hillary Clinton and voter shame anyone who voted for Jill Stein and keep my interest or even allow me to watch you without getting so much anger built inside because
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I went down the road of supporting Hillary a long time ago,
that's it.
and
Yeah.
then I found out who she was, and I will never, ever, ever support anyone like her. Not just her, but anyone like her. And I don't want people propping up candidates like that anymore. He propped up Hillary. She cheated us. And yeah,
Well,
I
I
will
think if
show
you
that same
listen,
passion the Door did because I am just as strongly affected by what the hell they did. And they were pushing people to vote for Hillary, and that
pushing.
was wrong. Pushing, yes.
Well, I think it was the right. It would be better, especially if you look at very
Would
marginalized
it?
groups.
Would it? Would it really?
People
Because she does the same
and then
things that Trump does, but she does them
well, that's what I'm saying is
undercover and
well,
looks nicer doing it. She
no, I
would do.
absolutely. I'm saying absolutely. We have like several occurrences, like the Supreme Court, like immigration, like Yemen, like all kinds of crap that Trump is doing that is absolutely, just that much more ridiculous.
At least it's
And
out
it
there in the
actually hurts
open.
people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's why I'm saying it has real world, like immediate consequences. And the idea that, like, I mean, you're just saying, like, vote for, you have two choices. I mean, that's just like I say, I have no problem with the protest vote. And I really don't think you're like characterizing them as like being somehow promoting Hillary. But what I saw was a lot of media that was promoting the idea that these people, like Jamal Thomas, every day, these people they're sellouts for promoting. You may not say it, but these people. I mean, I don't know who. If you're listening to like whatever,
I listened to
well, you did say
Jamal.
Jamal, so
No,
so
he
that's
does
their point of
say,
view, and I just
but
don't. I do not trust Jamal. And the
Jamal
what
has
you have is like
always.
this ring of people.
Okay, you gotta let me talk too.
Yes, ma'am.
Jamal has, um, to my chagrin, protected people like or spoke well of people like Packman and Dixon and Cedar. He said they're all in my wheelhouse. They're in my wheelhouse. I don't agree with everything they're saying, but they're in my wheelhouse. So you disappeared. What happened?
I'm here.
You're having a bong, aren't you?
What?
Nothing. Okay. Anyway, Jamal has like told everyone not to give them crap, you know?
He's told people not to give Sam Seder crap.
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
There's certain episodes, and I watch him a lot because I travel, or not even necessarily watch. I listen a lot, and he has really long videos, which is great for me because I drive a lot and I can't look up, videos while I'm driving. So I'll listen to really long podcasts while I'm driving, or YouTube videos, and it always drove me crazy that he's like, "Don't give them," I make fun of so and so, but they're in our wheelhouse. They're for the same things. We may have different ideas of how to get there, but we're for the same things. And I kind of agree with that to an extent. Um, but at the same time, I like, no, we really can't prop up establishment people. I don't want to ever see anyone who's propping up establishment people, the lesser of two evils phenomenon. I really hate, because we need stronger action right now, and we shouldn't be propping up anybody who is accepting all that corporate money and is doing like propping up war, pushing for regime change, pushing for stuff like that, and accepting money and having like the Clinton Foundation having a
Well,
slush fund in the name of charity.
the point is, there is every bit. If you listen to Sam Seder and the Young Turks and Benjamin Dixon, they're every bit uh, as critical of Hillary as all that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
but at the same time, they push people to vote for her in the
well,
general election
it's just a
instead
simple
of.
matter. You obviously, I don't think it's just a worse situation, especially just the Supreme Court. Just the Supreme Court. You know what the right is really great at is political gamesmanship.
Yeah, they are. I
They
agree.
know the
They're
game.
better than the
They know
Democrats
what
for
game they're
sure.
playing. They got their shit together. That's why I'm saying it's just like and that's why I really believe these people are covert operatives. When you have it's just like too much of a coincidence. All these people
Wait, who's the covert operator?
A.J. Goodman, Sane Progressive, Jamal Thomas, Nico House,
Oh,
and I could
come
go
on.
on.
That's going a little far. And you think the
Well,
Seth Rich thing is a conspiracy?
this is why
Seriously?
like the fact that they start. It doesn't make sense that you like H.A. Goodman was a libertarian, a far rightist. Then he supported Bernie. Now he's supporting Trump again.
No, that
Sane,
makes sense.
sane
That makes
progressive.
sense to me.
Okay, sane progressive was supposedly like this big progressive. I did extensive, not super extensive, but there wasn't. She started her career like touting Bernie heavily, and then she was like, just super against Hillary. And all these people follow this same pattern. There was a that was the one fellow with the colored hair uh, who worked for Cambridge Analytica and worked for the Mercers. It's related to Breitbart in England. So they said this was in Bruce Sutter, the FBI indictment by this. And yes, I could be looking at a cloud and be seeing a puppy that's not there. But I'm just saying it fits that pattern. It's not like this is. I mean, this is something that we know happened. That people there were social media operatives who they had no. Who were they? Who were these social media operatives who worked for Cambridge Analytica? And now we have it's just interesting, like with the
Yeah, well, there was Correct the
you'll
Record
see
and
there's
all the
correct
paid
the record,
trolls.
right, right.
So it
That's why
goes
we know
both
that we know
ways.
and that's another thing about the way the right wing works in terms of the echo chamber. Like I was talking about the heat map before, the way they'll sort of disseminate information by
Mhm.
they'll just like say the right wing will just come up with a point like global warming is fake, and they'll all stick to that, and everybody will just
I
pound
know. Okay,
create
okay,
this other reality. That's the echo chamber, right?
right, but we need to learn how to co-opt that strategy, only to use it for good on
Well, we are trying to
issues.
use the truth. That's why it's important. That's why Sam Seder, like when Jimmy dips into this stuff, that's why Sam Seder just gets in there and, like, I'm telling you, he's a smart motherfuckers. I mean, Sam Seder and, like,
Jimmy's pretty damn smart
everybody on
for
the
a
show.
comedian.
Well,
Super
I'm just
smart.
telling you. I mean, this is my opinion. I spend like every damn day watching these people, you know. So it's just like, and it's related to. That's why I'm saying I look for the consistency because it's like very like that's just part of my like makeup. Is that like if
I
I
look
don't
for the
see
consistency too,
mhm,
but the consistency that I don't want to see is consistency where all they're doing is attacking the right and protecting the left or vice versa. I want to see somebody consistent on the fact that if someone does something wrong, they call them out on it, whether they're on the right or the left or in the middle. If they're doing something right, that's the consistency I look for
well,
constantly.
and you'll find that with Seder and
No, no, no,
see
no,
like
I
Jimmy.
will not.
There's no
No.
misquotes. Where are the misquotes?
No. No, I'm sorry. No, I
Well, I'm
don't
just
see
saying we need
that.
the exact. We need the exact. That's why I'm saying it comes down to like actual facts. You know, that's why when Jimmy's going after these wild, he was a 9/11 truther for years.
And what's wrong with that? I don't
I
understand
believe
the
it's. I believe if you look into it enough, you'll see that it's pretty easily. Just like for one, he says like I just don't understand Building 7. Building 7's really easy to understand. You just got to like watch the Popular Mechanics video, where there's like a lot of debunking videos. It's really not that complicated a story. Two giant freaking buildings fell next to this little building, and it burned and burned and burned, and it just weakened and it fell. That's it. It's not complicated. There was
I
no.
don't know.
Because
I watched a
I'm just
document. I
saying,
don't
like,
even remember what it was, but
because
it
it's
didn't
about
make.
the nature of reality. It's just like ultimately for the 9/11, like for it just to be this giant, massive cover up of the facts. The idea it comes down to that's like a tenet of far right uh, I mean, they could sort of eradicate every fact by just saying the Jews control the media.
But why did they let Osama and his family fly when there was the no fly right after to get out?
They're friends. They're very, very good friends with Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia. Our elites are
See,
very,
so there's
very good
questions,
friends.
and I'm not saying anything
Why
happened.
didn't
I just
Saudi?
don't know, and I don't trust our
There's
media
questions.
anymore.
There's questions, but it's pretty
Yeah.
easy. The people like the
Why can't you ask
they think
questions? What's wrong with
you
asking
can.
questions?
I have. I do.
Okay, well,
You can.
continue. That's all we need to do.
I'm just saying. As far
I
as
don't
like
have the answers.
people,
I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm saying I just want to know,
but I'm just
and
saying there is a consensus. It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not like Sam Seder and Cenk are like making up their facts because if they tried to make up some shit, they'll be called out in the same way that Jimmy is calling out,
well,
or that Sam is calling out Jimmy. They can't.
what
They
did Jimmy
simply
get
can't do
wrong?
it. They
What did
simply can't do it.
Jimmy
Well, he
get?
was
What did
wrong
he
about
get
the
wrong?
9/11 conspiracy.
He
It's like
didn't.
if you look into it,
Having questions is not spouting
but
wrong
there are
information.
investigative journalists who've gotten to the bottom of that well. If there was the preponderance evidence that, like, that what the
It
people,
doesn't matter preponderance of evidence. I mean, that doesn't matter. You're allowed to have an opinion, and I'm okay with him having an opinion questioning. I want to listen to the people who actually question. I don't want people who are going to go along with the establishment no matter what they say about anything. I want people who are going to question. That's who I want to listen to. And I certainly don't want to listen to somebody who's going to voter shame me for voting for Jill Stein, to shame me for not voting for Hillary Clinton, who keeps on the Russia freaking bandwagon constantly saying that they screwed up our election when the biggest election fraud happened with the Hillary campaign and the DNC, and that is way worse. And he just ignored that whole entire fact, and that is a fact. That's verifiable proof that he was not talking about. So sorry, I didn't mean to go off.
and who, like,
I'm
who was
trying
not
to
talking
keep
about? Sam
Sam
Seder was not talking
Cedar.
about what?
I'm sorry, Sam Cedar, Ben Dixon,
I
Paxton.
mean, no, they like I say, they did
They
like I
jumped
said,
right
there's
on
like a
the
consensus. It's not like
Russia.
they make up what is the story. They don't make up what the story is.
No, they just ignore it. It's
And if
more
a
the
story comes
information.
from a certain place and it's the same
Like what
place,
place? WikiLeaks? WikiLeaks is
the right
100%
wing
verifiable.
echo chamber.
I don't understand. What does that have to
When
do with the facts?
the particular story, like about Seth Rich, the facts of the Seth Rich case, the facts of Pizzagate,
It
you know.
doesn't. Okay, Pizzagate's stupid. I admit that. Okay, but
That's what I'm
Seth
saying.
Rich,
It's like they
there's
continually push this stuff out. This exact same people who
there
push
are
the anti-global warming stuff.
there are legitimate questions with Seth Rich. There is legitimate information showing that the DNC cheated in the election through WikiLeaks, the
Okay,
emails. So jumping on the Russia Gate friggin' bandwagon turns me off of any channel
did you happen
immediately.
did you happen to get a chance to see any Timothy Snyder? It's very complicated, but
I
uh,
don't know who Timothy Snyder is. Sorry.
a guy I told you to listen to. But I would say that's another guy I really recommend as far as like he
Is
actually
that
comes
the
out.
current affair thing that you
He
told
was
me? Because I
actually no,
wrote that down.
that's Nathan Robinson, but actually he was in the latest Michael Moore film. I don't know if you like Michael Moore or if he's a sellout too, but
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, it's like it is complicated, but I do like that's what I want you to at least consider the idea. I don't want you to like think about it like take this idea and like obviously you're not going to accept this idea exactly today. Now let me ask about something another the idea basically that there is this like the Cambridge Analytical operatives, basically. Do
Hmm.
you remember Real Progressives, the website Real Progressives? They have a YouTube channel
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you
With
have the
the
one
Stephen
guy with
Grumbine.
Stephen Grumbine, the
Hmm.
mustache man, and then you have well, remember what happened with that?
I
This
have no
has a
idea what you're
relationship
referring to.
to Tatsu Ikeda was like a guy for that, and then he switched and he became a climate change denier. And same progressive, I think, actually became a climate change denier too. I mean, by I don't know if she actually like fell onto it, but that became like a whole giant part of what he was doing. So it's like that's what I'm saying. That's another one you just see over and over and over. These same people who have this pattern. It's like I'm a progressive, and it's the same thing with that. That's why I'm saying this pattern does happen. Whether you think he's one person, whether Jamal Thomas is doing it, whether H.A. Goodman is doing it with the same progressive, what their motivation, whether it's monetary, whether they're just getting paid off. I happen to believe, and I have never. See, I'll tell you when I've never heard like any confirmation for something. I happen to believe that the Patreon is a way to give dark money to these propagandists.
Really? I'm sorry. I
Well, I'm
can't.
just saying
I don't know. But you know where the
that's a way
dark
you
money
could
is
just
coming
anybody
from.
could be giving them that money, and
But Cedar is associated with MSNBC and gets money from them, and therefore he can't talk about anything that's going to go against the advertisers of MSNBC. So
well, I'm
anyone
telling
who's
you,
that
I am a very
establishment.
like viewer of him, and I'm telling you, he's pretty. It's
Oh,
on the
he may
like.
go against them a little bit here and there, but generally he would get in so much trouble and he'd be fired
In what
if he
way?
didn't
Let's be
toe the line
specific
on the
about what line
Russiagate.
he's supposed to say. Um, I'm not
He's got to toe the
sure. Like,
line.
what do we mean Russiagate in terms of like what he says? And they make fun of Rachel Maddow all the time.
Oh
So
my
it's
God. No, but he does push the Russian
I
air.
don't
At
even
least
know. I
haven't
I don't
watched
even
him
remember
recently.
what
Maybe
his. He's not like very deep, but I would recommend actually one show with. I mean, it's like deeper, like to understand like what Russiagate. What does that mean, Russiagate? And that's what I'm saying. You have like people like Caitlin Johnson too. You have like sort of this echo chamber effect. All these sort of people who I've seen like associated with, say, Jay Goodman is sort of the fulcrum of this, who we know for sure was a libertarian, and then now he's back to being a far right Trump supporter.
yeah, H.A. Goodman. I used to follow him before the primary.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So
This is like that's what I'm saying. That pattern's happening whether it's in a particular person. I just want you to be aware that that's happening, and I really think that like
yeah, but there's the other
uh
side too, the establishment side
yeah.
that push the establishment and the elite narrative, and we got to be aware
But
of
Sam
both
Seder
sides.
is not pushing. Sam Seder, I'm telling you, is absolutely the most far left person on
Oh,
MSNBC.
I can't even tell you how many times I
That's
started
just
watching
because
a
he's
show and
really
getting
sure.
Why does he have to piss on people who voted for someone he didn't vote for?
Because he knows that much about politics, where he knows it's like
he's not a god. He's a freaking establishment hack, and I don't like him. I'm sorry.
He's bowing to the opinions of other people. Like Chomsky said, actually, I think there are people are making a big mistake not voting for Hillary because
I know Chomsky, and that was unfortunate.
I'm just saying, Sam Seder, you can believe that whatever you believe, you have a different opinion, that's fine. But I'm just saying he's bowing to people who are much smarter than him. I'm bowing to people who are much smarter than me. And if you and you should at least what they talk about too is you want to like where you the opposite of straw man, where you Iron Man the other person's case, you make the strongest possible case for it. That yes, like I say, you should be thinking of these things like should Hillary, would Hillary the same effect on Yemen? And like, yeah, she's going to do a lot of fucking shitty things, and I can just assure you that they're not fond of the whole. They really are very interested in turning over, and gaining power, and that's what I'm saying. It's like Bernie is where it's at. Like some people who think just like the movement is happening, so I'm just a little even suspicious of people. I should let you to respond because I'm going on to other points.
I don't know how to respond. I mean, I'm okay with people having different opinions.
I am too. I'm just saying what the point is. It's not like there's no, and that's why I talk about the truth too of like Timothy Snyder too. Ultimately, that's the point of the Russian style. That's some of the very interesting to me. Oh man, there's this. I got to remember the name of this one documentary too. It's pretty awesome. It just does like this one segment, but basically, it's the point of the Russian propaganda, like the way it is trying to like just divide and conquer.
Yeah, well, they had memes on both sides. There was
they'll like put money into like any like stray tail just to get people, and that fits also is fitting that pattern as far as like, and I'm saying like obviously it's like this, whether the Russia, obviously they talked to Russia and Russia was involved, I mean.
Yeah, but so did Hillary Clinton talk to.
Yeah.
Her campaign talked to Russia with the dossier that they did. They were getting,
right,
bad information on Trump. I mean, I don't see the Russia thing as any kind of real scandal. We've done way more than Russia, and I just don't. I just wish they would just leave that alone.
From the like as far as like the mainstream media coverage of Russia, that's why I say like TYT's coverage is way more relevant. They're actually because
they're getting better now. I've been actually able to watch them lately.
Yeah, they have that excellent investigative report. That's what I'm saying. It's a team of
But the other thing,
Jamal Thomas and H.A. Goodman and Sane Progressive are your team. You're getting junk.
Okay, they weren't my team for one. I would listen to them and consider what they had to say, but they're not my team.
Well, I'm saying like that's like you got to come down to like specifics, Like,
yeah, you do.
I mean, specifically, like that's a good question. I don't know if that's the DNC, all these particular things, the 9/11. I think these are like pressure points of like what is the truth, and like how can we tell.
But I wanted people to talk about.
So I think these are like illustrative like lessons when you look at like because I at least want people to recognize, and that's what Sam Seder and TYT, they know that this right-wing echo chamber is out there. And it's
of course it is, but there's also a left-wing echo chamber that does the same thing to the right. But when I listen to a news show, I want to.
You're talking about the mainstream media center right echo chamber?
I'm talking about all of it. All of it. It doesn't matter. Left to right.
Echo chamber. See, that's why then I see like also a consistency amongst these types of people I'm talking about. The switch from progressive to anti-Hillary. Which like just a legitimate. A lot of people just have that legitimate feeling.
I am totally anti-Hillary.
I'm totally anti-Hillary too.
I don't understand why that's a bad thing to be anti-Hillary, but I think it's really important.
That's the thing is, all the people who are saying to vote for Hillary are just as anti-Hillary as you.
I think it's really important for the left-wing media to cover election fraud. It's very, very important because
that this is another very important pressure point, because this is very much like a right wing. The right wing is pushing their narrative, and generally you get with you could find a certain group of very trustable media on the issue of election fraud who explain how it is primarily it's both sides, but obviously the Republicans are way better at it. They've been fixing the system.
They hide it better, but
they've gerrymandered the system so much, and
both sides gerrymander, but definitely more on the right wing. I experienced that here in Utah a lot.
What I'm saying, it's just you got to find people who.
But that's important.
When you get into people Sane Progressive was one of those who was that. What was her issue before she switched to every single mass shooting being a false flag before any details come out?
Oh God, I don't even remember.
Issue was election fraud, and she.
Okay.
Similar experts that also appeared on Alex Jones. That's what I'm saying.
But she
higher on that puts.
I don't care. People go on wherever they can get attention from. Okay, but wait.
This puts her higher on this heat map. So I'm just saying it's not it's just a data point. It doesn't mean anything by itself. But I'm just saying accept that data point. The fact that if she's getting information from people who are proven, I'm just saying there's this entire industry of people like the climate change denial industry, of people who keep over and over. I mean, how many just rando fucking idiots are saying that climate change is fake?
Yeah, a lot. And I hate that.
That's their technique. It's a swarm technique. This is how we know. I would also recommend the book Nancy McLean, who explains a lot of and the other broad who wrote a really good Koch brothers book that I forget the name of right now. But those two books are essential to understand the way the right wing has worked, just to develop this whole media structure for being able to disorient. That's why Timothy Snyder is saying interesting too, because he talks about the Russian influence on how that's coming together with it's just like a worldwide fascist the fist is coming together. That's right. The fasces is like a bundle of sticks together. It's the same for the English word. And I'm using this not.
I've taken notes.
Yeah.
I've got to look at Timothy Snyder, current affair, Michael.
What I'm saying is it's just as crazy as any conspiracy theory.
I just have one question for you though. Yeah. Simple question.
Yeah. Yes, my dear.
Okay. So, if Russia was such an issue with the elections, don't you think that the Democratic Party would be screaming from the rooftop to redo our election system where it's verifiable and secure?
That is one of there is election reform is one of the, I don't know.
Yeah, I know, HR1. It's HR1. I know. But they should have been doing that. If they were really concerned, they would have been yelling and screaming about that from day one, and also reforming the Electoral College, because that is really something that could.
It is taken over by these. I mean, we're in the process of. It's a long-term.
But why weren't they? You still haven't answered my question. Yeah. Why, when the Russian hacking and all that supposedly happened, why wasn't the first response that we need to redo our whole entire electric system and scream about the Electoral College, because Hillary would have won without the Electoral College?
That's so why? Yes, like the center-right mainstream media echo chamber, that exists.
Yeah, well, that's the left side. But why don't? No, they need to verify verifiable elections, and they will not push for that. Like, you don't hear them screaming from the rooftops that we need to fix our election system, even though they said Russia has hacked it.
TYT and
And
Sam Seder are.
well, really,
Yes.
because well, maybe it's TWT,
It's
but
part of the
the
project. I
the
watch these people every day. I'm telling you, that is part of the project. That's part of
okay,
it.
I watch TYT quite a bit still. I stopped watching Sam Cedar. He just pissed me off too many freaking times. I just can't watch a show that's gonna sit there and insult me day by day. I just will not do it. He's he pisses me off, and plus he works for MSNBC, so he's not gonna do anything that will go against his advertisers or MSNBC's advertisers anyway. So there's no way I'm
Well,
listening to Sam Cedar ever. But I have started listening to TYT again.
I'm
Um,
just seeing like what I see. I listen to like so much freaking YouTube
oh, I do
that
too.
that's what I'm
I
saying. I
travel
just
a
see the
lot,
consistency
but I like the
about
smaller
I'm just
channels. I really like the
journalistic.
smaller
This
channels.
thing of journalistic. I'm just saying if you want better people who are linked to better information, it may be. I mean, you don't have to listen to Sam Seder necessarily.
Yeah.
Maybe he can be. Obviously he's on this particular issue, but I'm just
No,
saying
I'm
he's
sure he's
very
fine on other issues. I
he's
just can't.
extremely just
I can't
honest, and
listen
it's
to him.
not meant to. That's why I don't take the. To me, this none of this is personal. This is just like we're trying to.
Yeah, we have
I'm
different
trying to. I'm
opinions.
trying to like depersonalize it where you don't have to be like, just because this is just like we're just having this disagreement, the same disagreement now. That
Mhm,
and maybe Sam Seder is like I don't know how to express, and I'll express it like you get your attention, So maybe
mhm,
and it's comedy and and so uh,
mhm,
got to give them a little leeway. And like I said, I would just say like they're real. They are real. Like the idea where he's further left than TYT because he's talking about like, and I would say no one's talking about like, oh, we should absolutely nationalize, the net, the oil
mhm.
companies, etc. That's all basic. He's pretty.
Well, the people I listen to are saying those same things, except for
Right.
they want to get rid of the oil industry altogether, not
Oh,
nationalize
right,
it.
right. Well, I mean, right.
Because I'm
Well, that's
pro-environment,
different
so
too. Like, yeah, it just depends. Like,
I don't want any more fracking and crap. I don't like
well,
the
that's the point.
results
Like,
of
you
it.
got to win political power, and the people. There's a plan to
Hmm.
do that. That's why I'm saying, like, when Jimmy irritates me, so just be like, what about they're basically like there isn't necessarily we just have to like be with the third party so the third party can get. I mean, it's just
Yeah, but he's
birds
at
of a
the
wing
same
fly.
time
We're hoping
he supports other like candidates, and he
is
was
that what he's
pushing
doing at
He
AOC?
was pushing an election that's happening in California right now with the DNC. He was on there pushing for people to go out and vote in that and rooting for the DNC candidate there. So, and he is going to travel
Which
an
is
hour to go vote in the DNC election. So, I don't see where he's against.
Jimmy.
Yes,
There's such a
Jimmy.
thing as absentee voting too. Like I saw that one. So
Well, yeah, but no, this is a
look into
special
it, Jimmy. Oh,
secret
really?
election. Look at it. It's something about special secret election that they don't want you to know about the DNC. Look up that. Watch that for me. I'll watch Sam Cedar again if you'll do that.
Okay, maybe I didn't understand, but
It was
I
something
mean, no,
about a
I'm just saying.
secret election.
I just wanted to make that point about that. Like they're not coming up with their own shit,
Okay.
and
I
they're
got to
just
get going pretty quick
no,
though.
no, no
Yeah, I
problem, no
understand.
problem. I mean, that's just a whole. We could just call it right now. I'm sorry if I'm droning on.
Yes, it's an hour. We did good. We
I
talked for
don't
an
know.
hour.
I don't see where like yeah. Well, that's great then. I enjoyed it. I mean, um,
Mm,
I hope you didn't get too irritated with me.
no, it's I love discussion. I lo- I that's my family, my whole family. Just we lived on debates, so we were
Cool.
always debating.
I mean,
And
obviously, I'm just into this one particular issue. I'm like, obviously, I put a lot of thought into it.
I have a lot of issues. This one was the least of my issues, but I'm happy to talk about it.
And yeah, like the idea that just because he's yeah, that's okay. I'm going off on wild hairs now. I want to let you get going. So
Yeah, I'm kind of tired. I've been going at this for a long time.
I understand. And it's just some stuff to think about. Like I'm just saying, like that thing is real. That's like I'm sure is legit, and it's just very
Mm.
interesting the stuff, the Timothy Snyder stuff about what's going on with the
I'll look that up. It's on my list.
Yvonne
I
and
wrote that
everything. It's
down.
long and complicated. He's like a freaking Yale professor, so it's like it's very subtle and
Well, things that I'm not an expert on, I I just kind of try to do my best to understand it. I'm not an expert in everything, and I'll never say I know definitively this is what happened or that's what happened. But I try to use my common sense, and that's all I can go off of. And I'm doing the best I can to figure this out. So that's all I can say.
and again, I think another just my major point. There's a lot more people trying to fool you out there than you think.
Oh, I know that. I realize that.
So we really can't, maybe it's Sam Cedar. Maybe he's got it, but I mean, that's not
Yeah,
my point. You
you
don't
don't
really,
really know.
exactly. It gets
So,
pretty complicated when it comes down
mhm,
to a lot of people are still out like Chris Hedges. I just don't know
mhm.
what his plan is. It just seems like Bernie's got a good chance to get elected, so that's what I hope for. But I will
Yeah.
once again let you go. I'd like to do this again if you want to go
Yeah, yeah.
sometime.
We'll
Just
check in again.
holler
Yeah.
at me.
If you see a topic I talk about, or I
And
see
if you
one
could
you're
like put
talking
this,
about, I'll
if you could put this
subscribe
on
so
your
I see.
channel, that would be
I don't
awesome.
know how to do that. Do you know how
I'm
to
trying
do
to
that?
figure out how to do that. So
Okay, if you figure
because
out
I have like
how,
literally zero subscribers, so but
I'll
it shouldn't be too
subscribe
hard.
to you just for fun.
Woo, woo. And number 7, baby. Yeah. And I want to
Yeah.
start going more. I'm like my dad's like dying. I'm all moving out of my house right now, so it's like pretty hectic. But
Oh,
we're gonna roll. I'm gonna be on the road, and
this is a good distraction. So,
yeah. I mean, this is just what I do with my time. I mean, I'm just like obviously I'm interested because this is pretty crazy stuff because it really goes down to this giant machine of
mm,
the right wing dole, and it comes down to like really like big business, the CIA, the KGB. It's like literally
mm.
big oil. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the bad guys. We can
Okay, well,
totally.
if you figure out how to share that, like, so I can post it on mine,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, uh, my email is thenaturalprogressive@gmail.com. So super easy. Just
So
don't forget the natural progressive.
it's the natural progressive at Gmail.
Gmail. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought it probably was. Cool.
Yeah. It's the same as my handle on
I thought it was.
YouTube. So yeah,
Excellent.
it usually is, right?
Great.
So awesome. Okay, well, it's great talking to you,
Right on.
and we'll do it again. It'll be fun.
Peace.
You too. You have a good one.
What's happening?